Hello indie game fans, as mentioned, March was a fantastic month for indie games, so I had to take a little bit more time to check these out, where I have a selection of hidden gems, some of which are relatively popular but not that popular in the grand scheme of things, so I do want to shout these out, especially since I couldn't fit them in my previous video on the best of the month. Let's begin with Jitsu Squad, a colourful, flashy beat-em-up title that sees our heroes smashing their way through enemies as they attempt to stop an intergalactic sorcerer. The developers' love for the genre is clear in this game, where they've added a twist by having fighting game-like inputs, although appearing on the hidden gems list means that it hasn't sold as many copies as I think it deserves, so if you love games like Castle Crashers, do pick this up. While Indie's Lies might not be the most revolutionary game, following in the footsteps of Slay the Spire, there's something to be said about a well-polished title with some interesting new ideas that deserves a mention, so here it is. This is a roguelite deck builder with an energy system, so you know what to expect, but where the 9 playable characters provide variety, and you can even take 2 partner heroes on your journey, making this early access title one to keep an eye on. Like Haiku the Robot mentioned in yesterday's edition of Indie Gaming This Week, Lone Fungus is another Metroidvania that I came to know of at about the same time, both being neat looking games that captured the indie spirit, which of course I have to shout out. The self-styled Mushroom Metroidvania does have clear Hollow Knight inspiration, but where precision platforming plays a much larger role, adding bits of Celeste into the traversal as well. The Mushroom has plenty of spells and abilities, where I do love the added feature of changing the visual design of the Mushroom cap. It is, however, an early access title, which I always find weird for Metroidvanias, with a planned 1.0 release towards the end of 2022 or early 2023, but what is here is impressive so far, so I wish this developer all the best. It's been a while since a tower defense game got to me, which is why Refactor is special and deserves a mention. It is another minimalist pixel art title, but where your towers come in Tetris-like pieces that form parts of the track on which the enemies move, adding an additional layer of strategy. There is even a mechanic that allows you to combine towers together for more powerful versions, which does add variance from one playthrough to the next. Again, it's nothing tremendously innovative, but a well-made title that deserves a spot.
None can escape the fold.
I'm pretty happy to see the reception of Forward Escape the Fold as well, a roguelite card-based dungeon crawler that many of you will be thankful is not a deck builder, but rather where your hero is advancing from tower to tower, getting and using items and fighting enemies on the way up. Interestingly, the developer launched a Kickstarter in January as a form of earlier access to the game, getting the most devoted to test run the game for balance, which might be a clever strategy if you are an indie developer. I love amazing pixel art, so of course NORCO will show up on a list like this, one that takes place in a self-styled southern gothic sci-fi world in a fictional interpretation of the town of NORCO, Louisiana, and the swamps of Greater New Orleans. You return home to search for your missing brother, but that quickly turns into so much more as you uncover conspiracies and secrets that your mother may or may not have been a part of. There are some telltale adventure game-like elements in your choices, affecting the story down the line, but everything from the look, atmosphere and writing makes this worth a play.
Life can get messy at times. A simple goodbye can turn into the journey of your life.
I don't know whether I missed the 1.0 release of No Place Like Home, but I do think that this life sim title is worth a play, especially if you love cozy games.
Especially when there's no one to say your farewell to. Everything is in your hands now. You're going to have to knuckle down to find your own way.
It takes place in a world where a large proportion of humanity has trashed the earth and left for space, where you're left to clean up the environment in this post-apocalypse. It is a little dark in theme, but uplifting at the same time, turning a brown, polluted wasteland into a green, thriving farm with plenty of chickens, so if you love farming and crafting games, this is one to get.
Don't throw away your dreams. Recycle them into new ones instead. At the end of the day, there's no place like home until you make it into one.
Let's kick off the top 3 with Wobble Dogs, which is, on paper, the most popular game on this list due to the number of Steam reviews, but I wanted to give it a mention since it is one of the most unique and weirdest games out there. It is a stress-free simulation title where you're raising a hive of these creatures known as Wobble Dogs, where yes, you did not hear that wrong, hive is the correct term for describing these mutant dogs. In fact, they do hatch from cocoons and have a variety of mutations, all simulated through a breeding and genetic system. It is amazing how a weird, colourful title like this can be so popular, so I wanted to give it a very special mention.
West's full of tall tales. Strangeness, oddity, evil. But the West, it's also got heroes. Of a kind. A bounty hunter. Thought she could hang up her shooting irons for good. Thought wrong.
There are quite a number of relativities here, since Weird West is a relatively popular title, but not as popular as I thought it would be, and is from a relatively indie studio that is not that indie but not huge as well, so it sits in a weird spot, but whatever the case may be, it is a fantastic title not to be missed. It is an immersive sim in the vein of Deus Ex and System Shock, but does use an isometric camera angle instead of first person. The occult Wild West, Weird West setting is very unique and even brutally so, where you play through the stories of 5 characters where they converge at a later point. The simulation here is very impressive, where the game does even account for you murdering all quest-giving NPCs with equally freeform interactions in the world and combat. The beauty of the immersive sim is that it should be able to deliver an experience where what you think should happen will happen when you interact with it, where it manages to do that to a T, which is no surprise since it comes to us from the co-creators of Dishonored and Prey, but it's an amazing accomplishment that is, relatively, flying under the radar.
Welcome to the Weird West.
Speaking of 1.0 releases, Nightmare Reaper does deserve this spot since it went through the fires of early access and emerged 5 years later as a decent success, which I hope has managed to comfortably keep the lights on for this developer over this period of time. This is a boomer shooter but mixed in with modern roguelite design, threading the needle and walking a fine line between the retro and present, resulting in quite an interesting combination. Notably, you do collect gold, which can be used to purchase upgrades via minigames, and you do get incrementally stronger from run to run as well, resulting in quite a compelling gameplay loop. I think that this type of gameplay and aesthetic mixed with roguelite elements is neat, and joins games like Gunfire Reborn as one of the best in this sub-genre, taking the #1 spot. For more of the best indie games, watch these videos and I will see you after the jump.